so let me, we spent 15 minutes passing out papers. We really did. Alright, so let me get to a few more fascinating things about fruits and vegetables. Let's see, antioxidants, fiber. What was next? Oh. Alright, texture and color is the next section. Yeah, it's section I-B4. Oh, section 4. Okay. No, chances are I tried to upload it as a docx and it kicked it out. Yeah, I can only upload PDFs and 1997 version of Word. Very college on the cutting edge of technology as usual. And so, if it has the X at the end of it, I can't upload it. It'll say it uploads, but then you can't see it. Yeah, I have to change. I just have to remember to save it as, like, right when you open up Word, it's always docx, so I have to remember to not just save, I have to save as, and then I upload it. And if I forget that step, which is happening lately, it says it uploads, but then it's not clickable. Technology always has to get me. Alright, so there's two main textures of fruit and vegetables. A. Crisp is the first one. Alright, cell walls are firm and the cells are fully hydrated, they're full of water. It makes overall firm fruit. Right, so usually crisp goes with juicy, indicating that when you cut into it or you bite into it, the cells are so full of liquid that when you crush them with your teeth, the water escapes out into your mouth. And that's usually considered a juicy fruit. Those are usually interchangeable. Like if you think of a crisp fruit, it's usually very juicy. Obviously, there's exceptions, right? Like oranges be very juicy, and they're not really crisp exactly. But similar concept that they are fully hydrated. And then keeping your fruit cold helps maintain that water content. So if you leave your fruit at room temperature, they're going to dehydrate. And so they go from kind of crispy to kind of squishy, meaning that it's losing some of the water and it no longer smells crispy and squishy. So if you keep them ice cold in the fridge, the water doesn't evaporate, so your fruit stays crispier longer. Or vegetables stay crispier longer, right? You keep your lettuce in the fridge, but the leaves are a little crunchier than they would be if you leave them out on the bench. If you're in the kitchen countertop, that's what's called countertop in the kitchen, bench in the lab. Alright, the other main texture is needly. dry texture that comes from low water content. So the dry texture that comes from low water content, so the cells pull apart from each other rather than breaking open. So when you're using your teeth to grind these fruits and vegetables, the cells are just sliding apart from each other rather than popping open and releasing their content. So these would be fruits and vegetables like watermelon. Potatoes. The apples really fall into both categories. Like if you think of a Granny Smith apple, that would be considered a crisp apple, but some of the other types of apples, usually the ones found in D-Hall, right, are the ones that are kind of mushy in your mouth. Like they don't snap when you bite into them. They kind of, when you move them around with your tongue in your mouth, they just kind of fall apart into little tiny pieces. Apples. I'm trying to think what brand it is. Red Delicious would be an option, or
Fuji apples are really nice.
Yeah, Fuji. I'm thinking there's something Lady something apples. I think Lady apples are sometimes on the mealy side. So if you're thinking about, right, crisp ones are the ones you want to put in your pies so that they maintain their shape. If you want to make applesauce, you want to use more like mealy ones so that they do fall apart and get all pushed out. I made applesauce on Sunday. Super easy to really make applesauce. You just boil apples in a little water. And then you just push it. I put apple pie spice, which is like a combination of allspice, cinnamon, and some cloves. It smells like a candle burning. Like when you think of apple pie. It tastes like apple pie. Peggy doesn't like it, so fine. More for me. She says it's too chunky. It's alright, I made it for myself. Alright, color. So we did color way back at the beginning when you guys boiled all the fruits and vegetables. You guys all vegetables, so we boiled them in a bunch of different colors, or in a different heat or pH, and it's changed color. Alright, so there's four families of colors, or four families of pigments. There's chlorophyll, which is the one that's considered green or blue-green. There are no fruits that are just blue-green. It's usually, so chlorophyll comes in a full-on green and a blue-green, and the ratio in the plant will determine how green it is. Right, so broccoli is heavier on the green, but lettuce is a little bit heavier the other way, so they can be, but they have other things in them. So they probably have a little bit of chlorophyll, but then if you mix in some of these other pigments, like doing your finger paint mixing. People can do that, finger paint mixing. And who boiled the broccoli? Does anyone remember boiling broccoli? It goes from like bright green to kind of less green. Like not green, just less than green. Most of the broccoli in D-Hall, right, when you get it, it's like on the yellowy, greeny side. It's because it's been boiled way too long. And so a lot of color has leaked out. So it's less colorful. Which is why it's also kind of mushy. It's been cooked beyond stability. It's all just kind of particularly broccoli. The next one is carotenoids. These are either yellow or orange or red. It is beta-carotene or retinol A. Those are all carotenoids, so it comes from carrots for the most part, or any other red, so like some of the bell peppers, red bell pepper would have it, the yellow bell pepper. Carotenoids. So someone boiled carrots way back when in that lab, and the carrots didn't change color, right? They just stayed bright orange. It's because carotenoids don't dissolve in water. They're nonpolar. And so boiling them in water, they won't leak out into the water. Chlorophyll dissolves in water, but carotenoids don't. They are fat soluble, correct. We have anthocyanins, and these are red, purple, yeah, let's do red and purple. Is there anything in between? Who boiled the beet? The beet boiling. It changed color, right? It went from pretty bright red to kind of a dull red, but your water that boiled in turned super dark purple. And so anthocyanins are water soluble, and so as you boil them, they go from the vegetable into the water, and so the vegetable loses color. It doesn't necessarily change color, just it's less bright. First one's called Badan. Like red cabbage or beets or radishes. Yeah, all the color leaked out into the beetroot. These guys need red or yellow. And these act very similar to anthocyanins. They're very similar molecules. And so they're also sensitive to heat. They lose a lot of color when they're cold. Alright. Before I get these things, I wrote too big. So A, B. So browning, when they go brown without cooking, right? So you have your apple and you cut it open and you walk away for a little bit and you come back and it's turned brown. What's going on? Don't worry, I'll tell you. So when fruits and vegetables turn brown from either being cut or bruised, it's a chemical reaction between things that are called phenolic compounds, enzymes, and our old friend oxygen. It's oxidizing. Alright, so if your fruit's intact, the cells keep these phenolic compounds inside the cell. And away from enzymes and oxygen. When a cell is damaged, so you've either bitten into it, or you cut it open, or you bounce it off the ground. Right, you're holding your apple and it just rolls right out of your hand. What you've done is now damaged the cells. So now those phenolic compounds squirt out, and they run to the enzymes. The enzymes break up the phenolic compounds into something that can then be oxidized and become free radicals by the oxygen. And all of a sudden, those free radicals spread. Right, the brown spot that was really little eventually will spread and spread and spread. So the enzymes interact with phenolic compounds, and if there's some oxygen around, then it produces a brown color amongst the damaged cells. So there's four main ways we can minimize brown. You can't reverse the process. You can't make it unbrown. But you can, let's say you've cut your fruit, there's about 4 ways you can keep it from turning brown right away. Anyone know any tricks that people use to keep their fruit? Usually lemon juice. Could be pineapple juice, but some sort of acidic fruit juice. People typically use lemon, but they could probably use anything, some sort of fruit juice. A technique called blanching, where you boil your vegetable and then you put it into a bucket of ice water, and it keeps it from turning brown. So after you cook it, right, you've destroyed some of the cells, and so the enzymes and oxygen are all leaking out and reacting with each other. But if you cool it off really, really quickly, the enzymes, it's too cold for the enzymes to do anything, and so it doesn't turn brown. You could just sprinkle some vitamin C on it. Vitamin C is an acid, right, ascorbic acid. Yes, that's what fruit fresh is. It's just ascorbic acid that you sprinkle on it. And it keeps it from turning brown. So a lot of people use it when they're making jams and jellies, because you're cutting up all that fruit, but you don't want your jelly to be brown. It tastes the same, right? You may have seen like brown strawberry jelly. The same thing, like it tastes like strawberries, it's just they let the fruit sit out for a little bit before they boiled it, and so it oxidized and turned kind of brownish. I mean, it's fine. It's funny. So if you add a little ascorbic acid, it keeps that from happening. Last one is you just keep it in the fridge, right? So if you slice open your apple slices, as long as you keep them in the fridge, they won't turn brown right away. They'll eventually turn brown. They won't turn brown as quickly. go see if I can figure it out. I'm guessing you put S and gas in there. But we'll see.
He graduated from junior
Mm. Yeah, UGA has a great food chemistry department, which is great. So between the food chemistry department and the horticulture department, one of my friends from college is a food chemist. She works for Kellogg. She works on the coloring that goes into marshmallows. Like that's her area of specialty, like figuring out the ratio of color to put in there so the marshmallow maintains its integrity and shipping, right? But then when it goes into milk, it needs to soften up a little bit. So how much water needs to be in the marshmallow with all the colors. Okay. They're like Lucky Charms. They hydrate a little bit. Yeah. Oh. Mm.
I talked to a guy about it. Big baby, I talked to him. That's a cool thing. They're like freeze-dried.
They are like freeze-dried. So when they're developing a new cereal, all the stuff has to go into them. Plus, she also checks on the places that make the marshmallows to make sure they're making it correctly. She got a degree in chemistry, and then she got a master's degree in food chemistry.
Okay. So, does she kind of have to become like specialized in the whole marshmallow?
Yeah, when they hired her, then they said, you're in charge of marshmallow division. And so,
That's awesome.
sounds pretty neat. I mean, I guess it's better than being part of the flake division, like just checking on flakes. No one likes the flakes.
Yeah, what a story.
Or maybe you could be, in the Honey Bunches of Oats, you could be the person who's checking on the little balls of clusters. yeah, like the little clustery bit. That could be your job. You could be the cluster lady. Alright, so last thing in this chapter was things about cooking. Alright, let's see. We already talked about that. Alright, we're going to talk about the fact that pigments are affected by heat. So in general, fruits and vegetables have a high carbohydrate concentration. Right, and water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, but the sugar, right, carbohydrates take a lot more heat to boil. And so because of this, the high heat so if you're boiling your vegetables or steaming them or whatever, it's not destroying the flavor, the sugar content. It's just changing the amount of water that's in there. So like cooked carrots are sweeter than raw carrots because you've boiled off a lot of the water that's in a carrot, and so you've kind of concentrated the sugary flavor. So, especially if you have fancy cooked carrots. But regular boiled carrots taste sweeter than the other kind. It also, heat increases the amount of volatile molecules, and so a cooked vegetable has a more potent smell than a raw vegetable. Right? It smells, raw broccoli doesn't smell like anything, but you know when someone's been cooking broccoli in your house. There's a definite distinct odor compared to like raw broccoli, because it increases the amount of volatile molecules. And last thing would be texture. What happens to the fruits and vegetables as you cook them? So cooking softens the plant material by damaging the cells and causing the water to leak out of the cell. So the cells deflate and the fruit and or vegetable becomes limp. And you can cook any fruit and vegetable to the point where all the cells have broken apart, released all their liquid, and actually the cells are starting to break down. We call that puree. It's like applesauce. I've cooked it to the point that all the water's out and the cells are starting to actually fall apart. So in theory, you could do that with any vegetable. Like if you're watching Top Chef, pea puree is their go-to thing. Whatever. It is pretty much baby food. You've cooked it past the point of structure, and then you blend it up. So baby food, pea, baby foods, or you could do celery in theory. Yeah, that's a lot of work. I bought it one. Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of work. Jordan, do you have a question? I mean, technically, yes, you can. But it is. There's very little water in it and a very high concentration of salts and other byproducts, and it's doing pretty bad damage to your kidney and liver. So, then, no, you would not do that. You would take your pea and put it into a container of sorts, and no, you would put like a clear piece of plastic. So imagine your pot, right, and you put a lid over it, and as it's boiling, water gets stuck to the lid and drips back down. You would do the same kind of thing. You put it out in the sun or over a fire. If for some reason you've had the ability to make fire but no food, then you would boil the pea and collect the clean water that catches on the top of the lid. You would probably do it with seawater. That's much easier rather than doing it with your own urine. But somehow, if you're in the woods with no water and no food, I can't right. I mean, I can't think of anything. I guess maybe no. I can think. Oh, okay. You're on a boat with no option but sunlight. I guess you can't reach the water for some reason outside your little lifeboat. That would be. Yeah. I mean. Yeah, I can think of no reason to do it other than you have a strange addiction to it. I mean, I'm assuming that's not her only source of water.
Yeah, you quickly run out of water.
You would run out of water. You would have to be supplementing it with water. So. All right, that's off topic. Let me just finish this last thing then. That's all right.
Well, you said pea fruit and
I did.
I was not like sauce. I think I told pea.
Yeah, no, sorry, vegetable, a little green vegetable. Alright, so starchy vegetables like your sweet potato, your white potato, have lots of water in them, but the type of cell that's holding the water in is a very closely packed, very stiff cell. So, when heated, The starch around the solids dissolve before the cells break down. Right, so if you're thinking mealy things, right, they fall apart before the cells break open. And so this forms one gel. It's going to form a soft, dry gel. So if you think about your mashed potatoes, right, you boil the potatoes and you drain off the water, and the potatoes still kind of have their form to them. That they're falling apart a little bit, but they're definitely not mushy. They're not a puree. They're not cooking them all the way to the point where all the tissue dissolves. They still have some structure, so you can squish them around and make this gel that's dry. Right? If you ate mashed potatoes that have not any milk or butter added to them, they're pretty disgusting. You have to add a little liquid in there to kind of melt it together. Alright, I'll stop there. Yeah. That is it on fruits and vegetables.